You've heard the word monad used as an idea, a philosophy, a spiritual term, something to understand. But the monad isn't something you grasp. It's what's left after everything you thought you were falls away. When belief dissolves, when identity collapses, when effort ends, the monad is not discovered. It remains. Most people approach truth the same way they approach knowledge. They try to collect it, define it, explain it, fit it into language. That approach works for systems, sciences, and models of reality, but it fails completely when it comes to what you actually are. Because the monad is not a belief system, not a higher self, not a cosmic personality. It is that which remains when nothing is being held onto. Today, we're going to dismantle the misunderstanding around the monad and point directly to the stillness beneath the mind that doesn't need explanation. Let's begin. The mind is designed to do one thing exceptionally well: create distinctions. This versus that. Observer versus observed. Subject versus object. That's how thought functions. But the monad exists prior to distinction. The moment you try to think about it, you've already stepped away from it. This is why every attempt to define the monad ends in paradox. Why mystics contradict each other while pointing to the same thing. Why language breaks down the closer you get. The monad cannot be known as an object because it is the knower itself. Trying to understand it conceptually is like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. The mind will keep producing symbols, maps, explanations, but the monad is not on the map. It is the ground the map is drawn on. Most spiritual confusion comes from one mistake: trying to add truth to the self instead of allowing the false to fall away. People chase awakening the way they chase success. More knowledge, more experiences, more identities. But the monad doesn't appear when you accumulate. It appears when you stop maintaining who you think you are. Notice this carefully. When you are no longer defending an identity, something is still present. When you are not narrating your life, awareness remains. When you drop effort, existence does not disappear. That unmoving presence is not created by effort. It doesn't require belief. It doesn't need maintenance. It was there before the personality formed. It remains during silence. It continues even when the mind goes quiet. The monad is not the best version of you. It is what's left when you are no longer being performed. This is subtle, and most teachings miss it. You don't experience the monad. Experiences come and go. States rise and fall. Visions appear and vanish. Anything that can be experienced is not it. The monad is what is aware of experience. That means no special state is required. No peak moment. No altered consciousness. In fact, the quieter things get, the clearer it becomes. Right now, before the next thought, something is aware. Not focused, not trying, just present. That presence doesn't fluctuate with emotion. It doesn't age. It doesn't react. It doesn't even announce itself. Recognition of the monad is not dramatic. It is ordinary to the point of being overlooked, because it has always been here. When people first recognize this, the mind often panics. It calls it emptiness, nothingness, or loss of self. And from the perspective of identity, it is a loss. But what disappears is not you. What disappears is the tension of becoming. The monad feels empty only because the mind is addicted to content, stories, drama, movement. But beneath all movement is stillness. Beneath all noise is silence. Beneath all effort is being. The monad is not a void. It is full without needing form. Peace without cause. Presence without effort. Wholeness without definition. This is why realization often feels anticlimactic. The mind expects fireworks. Truth offers simplicity. Here's where this becomes practical. Living from the monad does not mean withdrawing from life. It does not mean detaching from relationships or responsibilities. It means acting without false ownership. Thoughts arise, but you are not trapped inside of them. Emotions move, but they don't define you. Life unfolds, but it's no longer resisted. From this place, action becomes clean. Speech becomes precise. Silence becomes comfortable. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend your position. You don't need to become someone else. Because you are no longer living from an idea of self. You're living from what remains when the idea falls away. This is freedom without escape. Stillness in motion. Clarity inside complexity. The monad is not hidden. It is not distant. It is not earned. It has never been absent. It is what remains when seeking stops, when identity loosens, when the need to understand dissolves. You don't arrive at the monad. You stop leaving it. The mind wants to understand the monad the same way it understands objects, ideas, or systems. But the monad isn't an object. It isn't an idea. And it isn't something you stand outside of and analyze. The moment the mind tries to grasp the monad, it turns into something smaller than what it is. And in doing so, it misses it entirely. The monad is the source before division, the unity before form, the singular reality from which all multiplicity arises. And yet, no matter how intelligent, educated, or spiritually trained a person becomes, the mind repeatedly fails to comprehend it. This isn't a flaw in intelligence. It's a structural limitation. The mind was never designed to grasp the monad, because the mind itself emerges from it. To understand why, we need to look at how the mind actually works. Let's begin. The mind understands reality by separating things. It creates distinctions, subject and object, self and other, inside and outside, before and after. This is how thought operates. It compares, categorizes, contrasts, and labels. But the monad is prior to all the vision. There is no subject looking at the monad. There is no object being observed. There is no this and no that. So when the mind tries to think about the monad, it does what it always does. It divides. And the instant division happens, what you're thinking about is no longer the monad. For the mind to know something, there must be distance. You stand here. The thing you're thinking about stands there. That distance is essential for thought to function. But the monad is not over there. It is the field in which both the thinker and the thought appear. So the mind keeps reaching for distance that doesn't exist. It keeps trying to step back from something it is already immersed in. This is why every conceptual explanation of the monad feels incomplete. It's not missing information. It's using the wrong mode of knowing. Language is built on symbols. Words point to things, but they are never the thing itself. Even sacred language, terms like monad, source, and God, are still symbols. They fracture what is undivided into mental references. The moment you say the monad, the mind unconsciously turns it into an object with a boundary, even if it claims it has none. So the deeper the experience, the more language collapses. Silence isn't the absence of understanding here. It's the recognition that words cannot contain what has no edges. The mind wants to stand above reality and understand it. But the mind is not outside the monad looking in. It is an expression within it. Trying to grasp the monad with the mind is like a wave trying to observe the ocean as something separate from itself. The mind can describe patterns, movements, reflections, but it cannot step outside the source that gives rise to it. This isn't a failure. It's a revelation of scale. The monad is not known by the mind. It is known as what remains when the mind releases its need to dominate reality. Real contact with the monad doesn't come through effort. It comes through relinquishment. When the mind stops trying to grasp, define, or possess the truth, what remains becomes obvious. Not as an idea, but as direct presence. This is why traditions speak of letting go, stillness, silence, and surrender. Not because the monad is hidden, but because the effort to find it is what obscures it. The mind was designed to navigate form, not to contain the source of form. When it tries, it collapses into paradox, abstraction, and frustration. But when the mind relaxes its grip, something else steps forward. A knowing without division, a presence without boundary, a recognition that doesn't require explanation. The monad isn't something you figure out. It's what becomes unmistakable when the need to figure things out falls away. Most people think God and the monad are just two words for the same thing, but they're not. One is a symbol filtered through culture and psychology. The other is prior to symbols, belief, identity, and thought itself. And confusing the two is one of the main reasons spirituality collapses into dogma, fear, and hierarchy. Across history, humanity has tried to point toward the source of reality. Different languages, different myths, different names. But two ideas keep surfacing again and again: God and the monad. They sound similar on the surface, but they function very differently in the mind, the body, and lived experience. In this video, we're not arguing definitions. We're clarifying levels of perception. Because the difference between the monad and God is the difference between direct realization and symbolic belief. Let's begin. For most people, God exists inside the mind, not as an experience, but as a concept. God becomes a personality, a moral authority, a judge, a protector, a punisher, a cosmic parent. This version of God is shaped by culture, childhood conditioning, authority structures, fear, and hope. Even when God is described as infinite or loving, the image is still anthropomorphic, human-like, relational, and narrative-based. That's not wrong, but it's symbolic, not absolute. This God exists within thought, which means it can be believed in, argued about, defended, or rejected. Anything that can be believed can also be doubted. The monad is not a being. It's not a personality. It's not a ruler. And it's not an authority. The monad is that which exists before subject and object appear. Before thought, identity, time, space, or the observer and observed. The monad is not aware of itself as something separate. It does not decide. It does not judge. It does not intervene. It simply is. Not one as a number, but one as undivided reality. Calling the monad God already distorts it, because the word God implies a something. The monad is not something. It is being itself prior to form. People experience God, but people don't experience the monad. Experience requires a subject, an object, a boundary. The monad dissolves all three. That's why encounters with God often involve visions, voices, feelings, emotional highs, or guidance narratives. Whereas realization of the monad involves silence, collapse of self-reference, absence of interpretation, and the end of seeking. God appears to you. The monad reveals that there is no you apart from reality itself. One reinforces identity, the other dissolves it. Civilizations don't organize around the monad. They organize around symbols. A personalized God creates social cohesion, establishes moral frameworks, justifies authority, and maintains order. The monad cannot be weaponized. It cannot be owned. It cannot be institutionalized. So traditions wrap the ineffable source in stories, names, laws, and rewards and punishments. And over time, the symbol replaced the source. People began worshiping the finger pointing to the moon, not the moon itself. This isn't evil. It's functional. But it's not realization. When God is your highest reference, you seek approval, salvation, protection, and meaning granted from above. When the monad is recognized, seeking ends. Not because you achieved something, but because the one who was seeking dissolves. Life doesn't become passive. It becomes unforced. Ethics arise naturally. Compassion becomes automatic. Presence replaces belief. You don't obey reality. You are reality, appearing as life. God is a symbol humanity used to speak to itself about the mystery. The monad is the mystery before language ever touched it. God can be believed in. The monad can only be recognized. And once it's recognized, there is no argument, because there's no one left who needs to convince anyone of anything. The greatest irony of spiritual awakening is this: the harder you seek the monad, the further it moves away. Not because it's hidden, not because you're unworthy, but because seeking itself causes the delay. The monad is not an object to be found. It is not a destination at the end of effort. It is not a higher state waiting for you to reach it. And yet, most spiritual paths unknowingly train the mind to search for it. In this video, we're going to dismantle a subtle but critical misunderstanding: why seeking the monad keeps realization just out of reach, and what must collapse for realization to occur. Let's begin. The moment you seek the monad, you've already made a mistake. Seeking assumes there is a you, and there is the monad, and there is a distance between the two. But the monad is not separate from the one seeking it. If the monad is the source of all being, then the seeker cannot stand outside of it. There is no path to the monad, because there is nowhere it isn't. Seeking reinforces the illusion that realization is something added, when in truth, realization is something subtracted. The one who seeks is not the self. It is a mental posture. The seeker is built from desire for completion, fear of lack, identification with becoming. The mind loves seeking because seeking gives it purpose, direction, and identity. I am the one on the path. I am progressing. I am getting closer. But the monad is not reached by movement. It is recognized when movement ends. As long as the seeker remains active, the mind stays in control, and the monad cannot be grasped by the mind that created the seeker. Seeking always places realization in the future. One more practice, one more insight, one more breakthrough. But the monad does not appear later. It is not revealed through accumulation. It is revealed through immediacy. The moment you believe realization is ahead of you, you've abandoned the only place it can occur: now. The monad is timeless. Seeking drags it into time. Effort is useful for discipline, clarity, and stabilization, but effort cannot produce realization. Why? Because effort is always performed by the individual self, and the individual self is precisely what dissolves in realization. You cannot use the ego to transcend the ego. You cannot use effort to undo the one who exerts effort. At a certain point, effort becomes resistance, and surrender becomes the only remaining movement. Realization doesn't arrive. It's revealed when the search exhausts itself. The seeker loses momentum, and the question falls silent. It doesn't arrive through force. It arrives through clarity. When seeking ends, what remains is not emptiness. It is what was always present. The monad was never distant. It was overlooked by noise of becoming. You don't realize the monad by finding it. You realize it by seeing that it never left. The search ends not because you succeeded, but because there was never a distance to cross. Stop reaching. Stop chasing. Stop becoming. And notice what remains when there is nothing left to seek. Final realization doesn't arrive when you finally understand everything. It doesn't come when you collect enough teachings, enough insights, or enough spiritual experiences. Final realization begins at the exact moment you stop trying to get somewhere else. Not because you failed, but because you finally see what seeking was actually doing. Most people believe awakening is a destination, a moment in the future where everything clicks, suffering dissolves, and clarity becomes permanent. So they seek, they search, they refine their beliefs, they chase understanding. And they don't realize that seeking itself is the final veil. Not because seeking is wrong, but because seeking is movement away from what is already present. This video isn't about abandoning growth. It's about seeing the subtle trap that keeps realization just out of reach. Because the end of seeking isn't stagnation. It's arrival. Seeking feels noble. It feels sincere. It feels like progress. After all, if something is missing, shouldn't you go look for it? But notice something important. Seeking always assumes lack. The moment you seek awakening, you subtly declare, I am not awake now. The moment you seek truth, you assume, I do not already see. This isn't a moral failure. It's a structural one. Seeking positions realization as elsewhere, in another state, another future, another version of you. And the mind loves this. Because as long as realization is ahead of you, the seeker identity survives. The mind doesn't actually want final realization. It wants continuity. Seeking gives it purpose, direction, and meaning. And most importantly, time. At first, we dismantle beliefs, then identities, then stories about the self. But eventually, only one role remains untouched. The seeker. The one who is almost there. The one who is doing the work. The one who is on the path. This identity is refined, subtle, and deeply spiritual. And that's why it lasts so long. Because the seeker believes it is moving toward truth, when in reality, it is perpetuating distance. Distance between awareness and itself. You don't realize awareness. You are awareness, recognizing itself. But recognition doesn't require movement. It requires stillness. The seeker can't stop seeking because stopping feels like failure. But stopping is not giving up. Stopping is seeing. When seeking ends, something unexpected happens. Nothing explodes. Nothing dramatic occurs. No final fireworks. Instead, there's a quiet collapse of effort. The constant internal reaching relaxes. The subtle tension dissolves. And what remains isn't emptiness. It's immediacy. Life is suddenly not filtered through a future goal. Experience is no longer a stepping stone. This moment doesn't need to lead anywhere. It stands on its own. And for the first time, awareness stops circling itself and simply rests as itself. This isn't bliss chasing bliss. It's neutrality becoming clarity. Peace without effort. Achievement implies distance. You achieve something you don't have. You attain something external. But realization is not acquisition. It's subtraction. The removal of false assumptions. The final assumption being this: that something essential is missing. Nothing needs to be added to awareness for awareness to recognize itself. Every method eventually exhausts itself. Every practice dissolves into presence. Not because practices are wrong, but because their purpose is to reveal their own redundancy. The latter was never the destination. Ending seeking doesn't end growth. It ends resistance. Life continues. Emotions arise. Challenges appear. But they are no longer interpreted as obstacles to realization. They are expressions within it. You stop trying to transcend life and start inhabiting it fully. Not above the world, not outside the human experience, but deeply, intimately here. And paradoxically, this is where true transformation begins. Not through force, but through intimacy with what already is. Final realization doesn't come with a trumpet blast. It arrives quietly, when the one who is searching finally rests. Not because the answer was found, but because the question dissolved. When seeking ends, what remains was never absent. It was only overlooked by the one trying to find it. There is a moment in every awakening where something subtle but irreversible happens. You don't become enlightened. You don't dissolve into light. You don't transcend the world. You simply notice something you can never unsee. The crack appears, and once it does, the illusion of separation begins to collapse. From the time you were a child, you were taught to see yourself as separate. Separate from other people. Separate from nature. Separate from the world. Separate from whatever you call God, Source, or the infinite. It wasn't malicious. It was structural. Language divides. Identity divides. Labels divide. Narratives divide. And slowly, the idea formed. I am here. The world is out there. That assumption is the foundation of nearly every fear, conflict, insecurity, and struggle you've ever experienced. But one day, if you're paying attention, something shifts, and the illusion cracks. The first crack often appears in a very quiet way. You're watching the sunset, listening to music, locked into a deep conversation, meditating, or even just sitting still. And suddenly, there's a strange sense that the boundary between you and the experience is thinner than you thought. You aren't just watching the sunset. There's only the seeing. You aren't just listening to music. There's only the hearing. In that moment, the separate observer fades. There's no division between subject and object, just experience happening. This is the first fracture. Because if the observer is not separate from the observed, then what exactly are you? The second crack comes when you begin to question the solidity of your identity. You may say, my personality, my beliefs, my past, my trauma, my ambitions. But if you look closely, what you call me is memory, conditioning, repetition, and narrative. A constantly updating story. And stories can change. If your thoughts can change, if your emotions can change, if your beliefs can change, then what is the unchanging you beneath them? When you look for it directly, not philosophically, but experientially, you don't find a solid center. You find awareness. Open, silent, prior to identity. That realization is destabilizing. Because if you are awareness itself, then you are not confined to the boundaries you thought you were. Separation feels real because it is reinforced by thinking. Thought constantly narrates, that person is judging me. I need to protect myself. I am different from them. I am lacking something. I need to become more. The mind maintains division as a survival mechanism. But watch closely. Between thoughts, even for a fraction of a second, there is no separation. In pure presence, there is no me versus the world. There is just what is. The more you rest there, the more obvious it becomes. Separation is a mental overlay, a conceptual grid placed on top of direct experience. And once you see it as an overlay, you can't fully believe in it the same way again. The illusion isn't just philosophical. It creates suffering. If I am separate from you, I must compete. If I am separate from life, I must control it. If I am separate from the divine, I must earn it. If I am separate from wholeness, I must search for it. Fear is born from separation. Envy is born from separation. Shame is born from separation. Loneliness is born from separation. When the crack appears, something softens. You begin to feel, maybe I am not alone inside this experience. Maybe life is not happening to me. Maybe it is happening as me. That shift changes everything. Not because problems disappear, but because the battlefield dissolves. Here's what most people misunderstand. The first crack is rarely fireworks. It's quiet. It's the moment you realize that the anger you felt wasn't you. It was energy moving through awareness. It's the moment you look at another human being and for a split second, recognize yourself in them. It's the moment during meditation when the sense of being a separate thinker drops away. It's subtle, but it's irreversible. Because once you glimpse that separation might not be fundamental, you can't go fully back to sleep. The mind will try. It will rebuild the narrative. It will restore the boundaries. But something inside you knows. The crack is there. Awakening does not begin with grand realizations. It begins with doubt. Doubt in the assumption that you are separate from life. And once that doubt becomes experiential, not intellectual, the structure begins to loosen. The illusion of separation does not shatter overnight. It erodes, gently, patiently, inevitably. The first crack is grace, not because it destroys the world you knew, but because it reveals that you were never outside of it to begin with. And once that is seen, even faintly, the journey home has already begun. If this journey spoke to you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone ready to experience life beyond thought. Comment below. When did you first notice the crack in separation? I read every comment. If you would like to support my work directly, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/magnumopus333. Or you can explore some original merchandise at my Teespring store online. The link is in the description below. Remember, your consciousness is the key that unlocks reality. Let's keep unlocking it together. Thank you for watching. Until next time.